A full-on, battle-orientated chapter of Boku no Hero Academia. Pride. Pride is the first word that pops up in my mind when I think about this chapter. Izuku has some narration in this chapter. Future Izuku, to clarify. He talks about the events of this chapter and how he realizes what Bakugo was going through at this moment. He might have just been wanting to let off some, steam. He was just agitated, and he just wanted to take out his emotions on anything he could. And as we know, as humans, we tend to kind of let out our emotions in many different ways. For instance, sometimes maybe you might want to play a video game to get out your anger. Maybe you want to go running, jogging, whatever. There's many different forms and ways to get out your emotions. And in this case, maybe Bakugo was using this fight as a way to vent against Izuku. And Izuku thinks about the situation, like future Izuku, the narration, and he's like, this entire fight, it seemed rather pointless. It may have just been, Bakugo wanting to vent and all that. And, I should have just, not really went as far as I did, but he's like, I just couldn't. I couldn't, and I had to give it my all. And the reason why Izuku said this was because of pride. His pride to not allow Bakugo to win. Bakugo and Izuku have been rivals since the very beginning of Boku no Hero Academia, and Izuku has made it very clear how he views Bakugo. You would think after, constantly being mistreated by someone like Bakugo, you might hate the person. You might not want to be around this person after how awful he treats you throughout your entire childhood. Bakugo has done some really evil things to Izuku. In normal circumstances, you probably would never want to associate with Bakugo ever again if he did what he did to you. And seeing how he's constantly done this, he's picked on Izuku, he's bullied him, he's beat him up, and when he's made fun of him, he says he's quirkless, useless, powerless, and he's beneath him like he's trash. Normally you would not want to associate with this person. You just wouldn't. But Izuku continued to be around this man for whatever reason. And Izuku's made it clear time and time again the reason why he sticks around Bakugo. And the reason for this is that Bakugo is someone that was also an inspiration for him. We all know that Izuku's main idol is All Might. He looks up to All Might as his symbol. He looks up to All Might as someone that he wanted to strive to be, someone that, was the pinnacle of strength, the pinnacle of being a hero. That's someone that Izuku wanted to be, and it made him happy when All Might decided to actually acknowledge him and say, yeah, you can be my heir, you can, have, one for all, and this made Izuku happy. He finally started stepping up to be an actual hero. And the other reason, he always looked up to another person. It wasn't just All Might, he looked up to Bakugo. Now, like I said, Bakugo was someone that was truly mean to Izuku. Just someone you would never want to associate with. But Izuku continued to stick around this man because of one big reason. He thought what Bakugo could do was absolutely incredible. Because if you really think about it, Bakugo, he's very gifted. He's very, very gifted. He has a lot of talent. He has a really strong quirk ability. And overall, his attitude to get things done, they're pretty interesting. He is definitely someone that can reach up into the pinnacle of strength and also become a very strong hero that everybody recognizes. And on top of that, he's very intelligent. He's not someone that is stupid. It may look like he is, but he's not stupid at all. This chapter alone proves that with the fight of how he is fighting Izuku. So, of course Izuku would look up to Bakugo. Of course Izuku would look at this man and say, this man's incredible. I think this man is an awesome person. And yes, he's kind of an asshole, and Izuku even admits it. He's like, your personality's kind of shit and all that towards the end of the chapter, but I still think you're an incredible person. What you did and what you could accomplish and all that, it was just crazy. And so he's like, I finally caught up to you. I finally got into the same level as you. I'm on that plateau standing side by side you, and I'm no longer trying to chase after you and grab your leg. I'm finally right beside you. And when Izuku says that, he's like, I am finally now on your level. I can finally say I can be like you. You're someone that I strive to be like. So, Bakugo, he got praised. But at the same time, though, Bakugo's interpretation of this was kind of like him being looked down upon. So, let's look at Bakugo's perspective. we know time and time again, Bakugo has bullied this man. I've already talked about it a couple times in this video alone. And Bakugo states his feelings on the viewpoint, why he was so angry or upset with Izuku all the time. He said every time he would beat up Izuku, or he'd bully him or do some mean things to him, Izuku would just, turn around, start smiling once again, or being happy, or, just fighting back towards, Bakugo, and it didn't seem like he was really giving up. And it really made Bakugo angry, because Izuku constantly looked at him with a smile, or it looked like he was maybe looking down upon him, and it really agitated him. Because we do know one thing that's been building up for a very long time, was how Izuku was always helpful for Bakugo, and it made him actually look weak. Let's look at the entire scene in the childhood. When, Bakugo fell off into the water, Izuku came down and he helped him out, offered a hand. That really upset Bakugo. He's like, what the fuck? I'm someone that's supposed to be powerful. I'm someone that, can take care of themselves. Everybody, praises me, and everybody pretty much says I'm like the best of the best right now in my age. I mean, Bakugo thought he was incredible. He was literally like a god among men, pretty much. And Izuku came down and helped this boy. He helped Bakugo, gave him a hand, and this really made him upset. And we've seen this before, but now we get clarification to his emotions. We've seen this before, and I mean, when Bakugo looked at Izuku, giving him a hand, trying to get him out, it kind of stomped on his own pride. It stomped on him because everything he believed that he could do everything, it would be fine, but also someone as weak as Izuku that he's constantly bullied, coming down to look down at him and pick him up, it made him feel like weak. It made him feel like he wasn't what he truly thought he was, and so it made him feel like Izuku was looking down upon him the entire time, which made the, distance between these two characters even larger. And so throughout the entirety of their childhood, growing up together, even though these two spent time together a lot, and you couldn't necessarily call them friends, we know they spent a lot of time together, and for the very first time throughout the series of Boku no Hero Academia, Izuku and Bakugo actually tell what they're thinking to each other. They actually let out their emotions of how they felt in the past. When, Bakugo is like, this is why I felt, so angry with you and all that. And, Izuku's like, oh, so that's how you really felt. And when Izuku says how he felt and all that, how he looked up to him and how he's an amazing person, these two are finally revealing their emotions to each other and what they think of each other and how some of them are very inspirational. Like, for instance, Izuku thinks Bakugo is an inspiration for him, and how Bakugo's pride, he feels like he was trampled upon. And also how Izuku, he will not back down because of his own pride as well to best Bakugo and become even better than him. So I mean, just overall, some of the dynamics between these two characters of how they going at each other in this chapter and how they continue to fight for their pride. But that's not even getting into the tactics that Bakugo used. I mean, Bakugo being able to move around in midair like that, I mean, he's shown this every so often in, other fights, but I mean, seeing how he's going up against Izuku really shows you how powerful he really is. I mean, let's take a moment to consider this, okay? To use explosions, you gotta realize that's pretty powerful. Explosions alone are a really powerful ability. Being able to, just blow things up instantly, that's a lot of power for someone. And that could easily kill someone. If you really take a moment to think about it, that could easily kill someone. Bakugo, he's able to use explosions in a way to where he can actually move himself constantly throughout the air. Like, the entire fight with Izuku in this chapter, when he's going straight at Izuku, and he's going straight in at him after he blasts himself with an explosion, Izuku's about to, hit him up with a kick and all that, just hit him and, deflect his blow, but all of a sudden, as soon as Bakugo noticed this, he hit straight up, he went straight up, and then he hit again and went right behind Izuku, and then he was going for a hit on him in the stomach. So when you really look at this, Bakugo's tactics and how fast he can adapt to whatever situation happens. For instance, his movement, how he can continue to move around, it's definitely something that is incredible and powerful. And the way Izuku did not have time to think, it shows how much improvement Bakugo has received throughout the series of Boku no Hero Academia. I mean, there has been times where we've seen Bakugo use some of these moves throughout the journey of Boku no Hero Academia. You know how he moves around Izuku or he moves around other characters. He's shown this once before. But a lot of this chapter was kind of throwbacks to previous fights and stuff of how these characters have improved, especially since the first fight between Izuku and Bakugo. You see a lot of improvements in this fight of how they've changed, how they are able to overcome each other. And I mean, it's not just a one-sided match. If you remember in the original Izuku versus Bakugo, Izuku played Bakugo like a fiddle. He was able to understand his type of moves and how he was going at him, and Izuku is able to kind of counter everything he is doing. And you see how Bakugo, he has learned this, and he realizes that he can't just go full in like he normally does. He needs to be able to adapt and change up his tactics on the fly, and that's what he was doing with, Izuku the entire fight of this chapter. And Izuku realized this, he's like, wow, I need to praise you, like, you certainly have grown a hell of a lot stronger. And so that's kind of what that means, just Bakugo being able to move like that and changing up his tactics and not use the exact same combos he always does. Now, the next thing to dive into, let's talk about the 8%, the maximum power limit. Now, don't mistake this for Izuku's maximum power. When it says max power limit, it means that's just the maximum power Izuku can use at this time that does not hurt him. For instance, shatter his bones like paper mache. This 8% is his max power at this time. And you gotta remember, this is one for all. One for all ability stacks with each generation. So the 8% of Izuku that he's using right now is actually stronger than All Might's 8%. And when All Might finally was able to use 8% or whatever, and how his training went, the 8% of All Might is weaker compared to Izuku's 8%. So we can kind of estimate depending on how powerful this is. We don't really have the numbers, but I mean, let's just, round up to a solid number. Let's just say, like, 10. Let's just say this 8% of Izuku is actually 10% of All Might's power, and then it shows you kind of the scaling of the power. And so, it's kind of impressive. I mean, you gotta realize, Izuku's done all this crazy stuff already. He's gone this fast without really hurting himself using 5% of his power, and now just 8%. I mean, he's used above 8% in the past, but I mean, when he does this, it hurts his body, and overall, it has negative effects, and it really just slows him down to where it's not going to help him out at all in becoming a hero. I mean, yes, he can use 100% power, he's going to shatter every bone in his body, he might be able to defeat that in-game villain, but that's it, that's GG, his hero career is done. I mean, it's already made it very clear, if Izuku continues to use his ability, breaking his bones, he's going to be out of shape. He's not going to be able to use his body to be able to become a hero. He's going to be kind of like All Might. His body's going to be shattered, and there's just not much he can really offer onto the table to being a hero. So he needs to learn to adapt to this ability and grow stronger. And so when he's finally able to get to the 100% of what All Might was able to do, you got to realize, Izuku's 100% is going to be way stronger than All Might's. It just really throws you for a loop when you realize how powerful this man's gonna be if he's already this fast and strong at just 8%. When he finally gets to maybe 50%, I just can't even imagine how powerful he's gonna be. So, my big concern right now is one thing that really makes me wonder, how is the other characters going to stay relevant? This is something I shouldn't really take a lot of time to focus on with this video, but it is something that does need to be kind of commented on. As shonen, series continue to move forward, there tends to be a problem with a long-running shonen. Usually characters turn out to be rather weak compared to the MC. This happens to a lot of shonen. And it's because just the main character gets so many power-ups or he continuously gets stronger that the other side characters just cannot keep up at all to the level of strength and power that the main character has. And I mean, Horikoshi has shown time and time again, he knows how to develop his characters. He knows how to give them power-ups. He knows how to, give them little training arcs and stuff like that. I'm not saying Horikoshi can't do it. I'm just saying I'm concerned with how powerful All Might really is. I mean, All Might, even though he was using a lot of power in that, all for one and one for all fight, the power that was shown in that was just in-game level. That was some crazy power. And I mean, All Might wasn't in his tip-top form or shape. He couldn't really use all of his power like he would want. And I mean, All for One as well, he wasn't really in tip-top shape either because of how damaged he was. So I mean, even though it was kind of like an in-game fight, it wasn't the true power of what maybe an in-game fight would look like. And it concerns me that if Izuku continues to get stronger, and one day, we know eventually he will get to the level to use 100%, I'm concerned how the other characters are going to keep up. How are they going to be able to stay relevant in fights besides just Izuku being relevant? I mean, Bakugo has explosions, which is a quirk ability that is rather powerful. I mean, it's something that can never really just be brushed off. I mean, explosions will always be powerful unless you have someone that could literally tank explosions, then that's fine. But Bakugo having the ability for explosions, and if he can, change his, I guess direction while he's in midair, that will help him out tremendously in upcoming fights. But I mean, I'm concerned how some of these other characters are going to keep up with Izuku if Izuku continues to get more and more powerful, which he will. I'm just concerned about the other characters. Now, with that being said, I want to end this chapter review here. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.